The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Translated from the French by Michael Morpurgo. Read by Richard E. Grant.
Forward. I wondered, as I was translating Antoine de Saint-Exupéry's glorious book, whether there is any book in the English language that is as familiar to so many of us, as universally beloved, as frequently studied, as deeply revered as The Little Prince is to the French. Unquestionably, we have many great and iconic books written in the English language that are widely read and loved and admired. But I can think of no single book of ours that appeals so widely across the generations, that remains so relevant, whose glow does not fade with the passing of time, that belongs as uniquely and particularly to the intellect and culture of its country of origin. My conclusion, as I was working on this, as I tried to write in his voice, live inside the landscape of his imagination, to tell it as he heard it and saw it and meant it, but in my way and in English, is that it might be impossible to understand France and the French properly, unless you have read and known and loved this book. Certainly I have discovered in translating it that the best way to come to know a book intimately is to come to know the mind of the writer. I understand and appreciate more fully now the mastery of Saint-Exupéry's art and craft, the inspired brushstrokes of his storytelling. Translating this was a masterclass for me. Some will not be surprised to know, after reading my translation of The Little Prince, that this was my first attempt at any kind of translation, probably since trying to translate pages of Racine's Phèdre when I studied French at school. I was no scholar then when it came to French language or literature, and I am no scholar now. I am, however, a maker of stories, a teller of tales. I have lived and breathed stories since I was a child. So to be asked to translate one of the greatest stories ever written was an honor I could not refuse. And if I am honest, I thought my knowledge of French would be just about up to it. Well, I was wrong about that. The economy of Saint-Exupéry's elegant yet complex prose, or is it poetry, proved to be a real challenge to my rather limited and literal understanding of French. I knew, of course, that I could crib off the established translations, but I also knew I must not, that I should not take even a peeky look at them, but rather translate as best I could, tell it down from Exupéry's French my way into my English, and then perhaps, if I really needed to, have a peeky look later. So that's what I did. I also wanted to do this translation because I knew that so many English-speaking people have not had the joy of reading The Little Prince. It is a different book, unlike any other, strange, French, and in translation the language can be inhibiting. Compared to the book's immense popularity amongst French readers, it seems to resonate much less with us. There might be many reasons for this. Broadly speaking, and especially in children's books, we seem to like stories that are above all exciting. As children, we love adventures that make us long to discover what happens next, with characters with whom we can identify strongly. The Little Prince has all that, but it is much more the story of a relationship, a story that asks the great questions of life and death, of the human predicament. It is deeply intellectual and philosophical, and therefore deeply troubling. And it is not a book that can be conveniently pigeonholed. Is it a children's book? Well, I suppose that depends on the grown-up reading it. The Little Prince does not have a high opinion of the capacity of grown-ups to understand the world of the child. Sadly, far too many of them have put away childish things. Anyway, I thought a new
Sample complete. Ready to continue?